Hey guys, and welcome to a new episode of the Minimal Nerd podcast, as well as a MiLLENNIAL podcast. So today we have a lot of topics to cover. We got some exciting news from a lot of companies. Of course, this is the week of CES 2021. It's a virtual CES, so that's special about this year. But we got a lot of things to cover, a lot of stories, a lot of news, and some surprising things, right?
Yeah. Some really surprising things.
So
actually.
let's get right to it.
Okay.
Let's start with the first topic, which is the new Snapdragon 870.
New?
Yeah, it's not really new, right? So that's
No.
okay.
So a breakdown on this: the Snapdragon 870 is using the same architecture as the 865, same GPU. The difference is that I think it's the single core, the high performance single core, or I think it might be the set of the high performance cores is able to clock up to 3.28 gigahertz, whereas the 865 maxed out at 2.03 or 3.02. So it's a minimal difference in clock speed, but it's in architecture unchanged.
Yeah, just boost the clock speed to 3.2 gigahertz, and
right.
that's about it, right? Well, is there any architecture change?
No, architecture is the same. It's actually, I think it's a good thing. Actually, I think it's a great thing, but I also think it's something that Apple's been doing for a while.
Yeah, they repackaged their their A chip, for example. The A12 was the Z version,
right,
and also the X1.
And the other thing Apple does is if you're buying the newest iPhone, sure, you get the newest chipset, but if you're buying the newest iPad, which comes in at a significantly cheaper price, then you usually the new iPad, I think, is using the A12. Right, where the
iPad, are you talking about the iPad Air 4?
Yeah. No, not the iPad Air. The regular iPad. The budget, the $300 iPad uses the last generation Apple.
Yeah.
And they do that to save cost because most people don't really care about having the flagship chipset.
Same with the watch. The watch is using like a modified version of the A10,
right?
The Galaxy. I mean, not the Galaxy. The Watch SE has a lower clock, version of the A10, but the 6 one has a better version in a sense because improved LTE and stuff.
I think the thing that is the big takeaway before we move on to the next topic is that a lot of manufacturers, when the Snapdragon 865 came out, 865 or 855, it was the chipset with 5G. They were complaining that the price point of these new chipsets was just overall driving the cost of high-end phones up. And if you consider the fact that the 888 chipset is maybe a 15 to 10% all around. I know in some places it's higher than that, but if it's an overall 15 to 20% improvement over the 865, I think most people are happy with a smartphone that costs $150, $200 less and has 15% less performance, which they'll probably never use.
Yeah, so it's a win-win, right? I think it's a good trend for the upcoming smartphones to kind of go with a mid-tier. I would not say it's like a low end, but it's a mid-tier processor, and you're still getting like a lower price compared to the flagships. And even
it's a flagship chipset. It's just not the newest flagship chipset.
Yeah, exactly.
Chipset.
So,
I think specifically the big win for everybody in regards to this is that there are some very key differences in the ISP, which is used for the cameras. And so even like, let's say I have the Snapdragon 777, right? Which would like, it's not, it doesn't exist, but the last 7 series chip was the 768, right? That's going to have an ISP that's worse or less able than the 865 in most cases, because it's not a premium chipset, whereas the 865 is going to have more camera features, which is a big win for non-flagship SoC smartphones. Not mid-range phones necessarily, just non-flagship SoC.